Hello, welcome to 101. I'm your host, Greg Walker. I've been looking forward to this show for a long time. 101 started back in 1989, and I haven't had this gentleman on, and it's just because we haven't been able to get together. But finally, today, he's in the house. Pastor Jerry Jerkins joins us on this edition. He's been a community leader. He was the pastor for St. John's Missionary Baptist Church for over 40 years. That church is over 150 years old. And certainly he's just a special man. Well, today, we're going to get to know more about him, the person. Get his thoughts, opinions, and comments on a wide array of subject matter. Settle back, relax, and enjoy a good down-to-earth conversation with a friend of mine. Pastor Jerry Jerkins joins us right after these words.
New Sentra, $14,103. 15 grand off a new Titan. Great selection, great savings.
You're going to love our prices.
You're gonna love our prices. Matthews Nissan.
The Leaf Chronicle is now available on every device you carry or don't carry. All things Clarksville in all media 24/7. Subscribe now for full access.
For 100 years, Neil Tarpley Parchman Funeral Home has offered ways to live well and plan ahead, a legacy that can make all the difference to your family.
Neil Tarpley Parchman, people who care, a name you can trust.
It's the great savings event. Save like never before at Clarksville's favorite new car dealer. $8,440 off a new 2017 Altima. $6,431 off a new Rogue. You're going to love our prices.
Welcome to our show today. In the house with me, visiting for the first time, Pastor Jerry Jerkins.
Morning, sir. Bless you.
Bless you. Great to have you in the house.
Thank you so much, bless you.
We've been wanting to do this for a long time.
Yeah, I know you've asked me. I'm so glad that we could work it out this time to be with you.
And it's nice. You got your wife, Naomi. She's here with us today.
Right.
Got your daughter in from Atlanta. You got Jennifer in.
Right.
So we've got an audience with us today also, don't we?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
You know, you're blessed.
I am, indeed.
I mean, really blessed. You and Naomi, I mean, they're in their early 80s. They feel like they're in their 50s. And, man, we've marveled at Jennifer today. Pat and I both guessed her, what, in her early 30s?
Yeah.
She's 50. You wouldn't even believe it.
Told her age. She didn't want that to.
Well, it doesn't matter. Hey, she could be 70. She looks like she's 30.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. I guarantee you that. Let's let the folks get to know you a little bit. Of course, retired pastor of St. John's Missionary Baptist Church.
Yes, sir.
And were you telling me that church 151 years old?
Yeah, 150. Yeah, 150. Yes.
I think last year you celebrated your 150th.
Right.
As we tape this show on a May the 10th here in 2017. Because we may play this show again back, goodness, in 2 or 3 years. You never know.
Right.
I never know what we'll do. But you were pastor there, what, 40 years?
40 years, yes, sir.
Well, that's a long time.
I came in, I was a military person, and we were stationed in Germany for 3 years, and got orders from Uncle Sam that says I was coming to Fort Campbell. I had not heard of Fort Campbell, did not know where it was, and then I learned it was in Clarksville, Tennessee. And we came in here on, I think in 1966, the last Saturday in June, I believe, when we came in. And of course, I had decided, I had made up my mind to leave the military because I was trying to go to school I was taking correspondence courses from Moody Bible Institute and Philadelphia College of the Bible. And I was always in those units that was going to the field, and I could not get stabilized in taking the kind of seminary lessons that I wanted. And I just decided that I would leave the military and give full time to the... I had 14 years in. I talked to my wife and told her that I decided to leave the military. And she said, well, why are you telling me? You know, that's between you and God. I said, well, this is where our money come from. And I don't know what's going to happen there, you know.
Right.
And so she said, well, you know, I'm with you, whatever you want to do, honey, whatever you say you want to do. So we came here, and of course, everywhere I went in the military, every post, I worked with the chaplains. I worked with them in the chapel and whatever, Sunday school, choir. And when we got to New Orleans, when I was in New Orleans, I joined a church in the city and worked with the chaplains on posts. And that's where I really made my call to the... I had been working with this, trying to fight that. And one night, in a prayer meeting at that church, I asked the pastor would I could make a statement, and he did, and I told him I was sure that I had been called to the ministry, and I was going to accept that. And so when I was going from place to place, because of my going into the churches, into the neighborhood, into the community, and being involved, always, everywhere I went, I left people who knew me, and because I was a singer, and people loved to hear me sing, so I left a record there.
Your whole family is musically inclined.
All of us, yes, sir. All of us.
Bless
We got a 5-year-old, and he's a drummer already.
Really?
People are really excited when they see I can handle those drums.
Mercy.
So this is, and I decided to leave the military. Then they tried to talk me out of 2 of the chaplains in Germany, and I said, no, I don't want to. I made up my mind. They said, get out, go back to school, get your degree, come back as a chaplain, and retire. I said, I don't know what the Lord has in place for me.
Right.
That's where I am now. So when I came to Clarksville, that first Saturday, I had a Volkswagen, bought me a little Volkswagen in Germany, brought it back. When we got here, I had a little problem with something. I went to the Volkswagen place, and I asked the fellow, we just got here. I want to go to church in the morning. And he told me, he was a black guy, he said, mechanic was. He said, come to my church. He told me where St. John was downtown. And so I showed up with my 2 boys. My wife didn't go because she was carrying the twins at that time.
At that time.
And so...
So he's got 2 sons, 2 daughters, and the daughters are twins.
Yeah.
Jennifer's got a twin. They both live in Atlanta.
And all my children was in Atlanta at one time. My oldest boy went to Atlanta, and then he carried them down. They got down there. He came back here. That's what Jeffrey did.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, though.
No, but I was just saying how I got to St. John is that Sunday, and when I went in, I told the pastor that I was a minister, and Sunday morning. So he asked me. It was on the first Sunday. Mm. He said, would you come back tonight and preach for us? I said, yes, sir. I came back that night and preached for the evening service. The Lord's Supper was given. And I went all around Hopkinsville, several churches looking for a church, came back in St. John. When we got in here, they were doing a youth revival, a citywide youth revival. Joe Roberts. You know Joe Roberts.
Sure.
Everybody knows Joe Roberts. He was the rector of the youth at that church. And
yeah, Joe's having some health problems. Need to pray for him.
Right now, yeah, right. He is. He's serious. It's a serious situation.
Yeah, need to pray for Joe. Good man.
He is a good man. Everybody know him in this town. He's taught so many children, young students. And so
he's been on this show.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
He asked if I would, for that week, because my wife started with the choir, and I started working with him, with the young people. So he said, we got this coming up. Would you preach? I said, yeah, I'm available. Talked to the pastor. Pastor said, okay. For 5 nights, I preached every night. On that Friday night, a lady came up and told me that her uncle couldn't get there. They had this Haynes Chapel Baptist Church down in Dotsonville.
Haynes Chapel Baptist Church?
Yes, sir. They didn't have a pastor. Said, would you be our preacher for Sunday? I said, I'm available. Somebody had to come to get me. I was in Stracker Village at Fort Campbell. They came, carried me to church. I preached. They gave me a check, said, we want you to be our pastor. I said, I'm not prepared to be a pastor yet. I'm going to school to do that. I said, and I'm getting out of the Army in December, and I'm going to school for that. I'm not ready for pastor. They said, well, we want you. On my way back home, I called my brother, who pastored the church for 58 years before he died in Mobile. I called him, told him what he said, Jerry, what about the church? How big is it? I said, it got about 30 or 40 members. He said, take it. You'll be good for them. You're young. They'll be good for you.
Good experience, too.
I did. And so that's where, and then I was there for about a year.
Mm-hmm.
Our pastor decided to leave. They asked me, because we had two Sunday churches. At 2 Sundays we were at Haynes Chapel. The other 2 Sundays I was at St. John. And at that time, they asked me if I would take care when they had the pulpit committee, bringing pastors in, the search committee. If on the Sundays I was there, I was be in charge of the pulpit and introducing these fellows. And because we had really a high quality of people trying to get to St. John at that time. And I'm introducing Dr. Walker, you know.
Right.
And he's written a book, and he's got television program, all this stuff, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in degrees, he got doctors. And those are the kind of people I was in. And I never even gave it a thought that anybody would have me on their mind at St. John.
Right.
And the night they had the call, we was in formation. Sergeant said, I need somebody to take. Got 2 men that need to get to airport, Nashville, emergency leave. Nobody held their hand up. I said, I'll take them. I came back, it was too late. So I went straight to the house, Stracker Village. I had my key in the door. And my wife stung the door and said, welcome to the new pastor of St. John. Nobody, Joe Roberts, none of them, never said a word to me that they even had me on their mind. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
Really? So they surprised you when you came in?
That's the way I got there. And I said to them, in my first meeting with the deacons, I said, I don't know much. This is a big church. This is a historic church. I don't know much anything about pastoring. I said, but I study. I do the best I can. And I said, I'll stay with y'all maybe 3 or 4 years, but I really intend to get back to work. Because I was already enrolled. I had already enrolled. I was getting out in December.
Uh-huh.
And I had already enrolled in a school, Pensacola.
Florida?
Yeah, Pensacola. I was trying to think of the school. It was a Christian school. I had already enrolled, ready to go to school and everything when I got out. And so I said, I'll be with 3 or 4 years, y'all get somebody. 40 years later.
Jerry Jerkins. And he's our guest today. Back, segment 2, we're going to find out more about his background before he got to Clarksville, right after this.
The Leaf Chronicle is now available on every device you carry or don't carry. All things Clarksville in all media 24/7. Subscribe now for full access.
Welcome back. Our guest, Pastor Jerry Jerkins, 40 years a pastor at St. John's Missionary Baptist Church. He is our guest today, and we are glad to have him. Now, we want to go back further. Where were you born and raised?
I was born in Loxley, Alabama. Loxley, Alabama is on Highway 90, 25 miles east of Mobile, Alabama.
East of
It's a
Mobile.
small town. You run through it before. Got one traffic light, I think, there by now. But that's where I was born, and my family moved to Pensacola when I was 5 years old.
When you were 5.
So I claimed Pensacola. When people asked me about my home, I said Pensacola. I was born in Locks, Alabama.
All right, you were in Pensacola, though, and your family was. What did your parents do for a living?
Well, my parents, I was a single parent.
You mean
My dad
gotcha.
walked out on my mother when I was 6 weeks old.
6 weeks old.
That's what the story is from my family. I was 6 weeks old. And my two older brothers were my surrogate father. They the one, and my mama. My mama was deeply religious.
I was going to ask you that. Now, is it only three boys? I mean, do you have any sisters, siblings?
Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, had girls, yes. We had 5 girls, 3 boys.
So it's 8 of you.
Yes. Yes.
And where did you come in that 8?
Well, I was the last. I'm the baby.
You the baby.
I'm the baby. I'm the baby boy.
And that's the reason those 2 older brothers took care of you.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, they did. I didn't miss anything.
Your mother must have worked her hands to the
Oh,
bone.
yes. Well, she did the kind of work that housework where you go in and you take care of the house and clean, wash and stuff like that. That's what she did, but she was a very deeply religious person.
So you grew up in a religious home?
Yes, sir. I can remember when, as a teenager, Mama was very strict on my hours, what time I'd go in, what I could do. If I would come in, being with the kids and everything, you get a lot of smoke in your clothes. You can smell it. You want to know.
You've been smoking?
Yeah, where you been and so forth. So I tell people, Brother Walker, I tell people, I don't know when I got in church, because I've always been in church. Always been in church. And one thing my mother did for me, that my father had another family before she married my mother. He married my mother. They were all older than me, too. They were my half-brothers, so forth. And that family, when I got old enough to know my father, she pointed him out to me in the community. That's your dad. She said, always respect your daddy. And every Christmas, birthday, Father's Day, whatever it is, she would buy a card when I was small, fix it for me to give to him.
Really? Even though he walked out on it?
She would give that to us. That's your dad. And when I got old enough myself, then I continued to do that until he died. I was in Germany when he died, and they sent me, military flew me back home for the funeral, all that. But the family, all of those boys and girls on that other side, they love me. And right now, they honor me. They just said I'm the only uncle left. I'm the only one left in that family. So that's part of my family and the way I got that. But
so you don't even have any siblings left living?
my last sister died 2 years ago, and I'm the only one left now. I'm the last one.
Still the baby of the family.
Still the baby of the family. Yes, sir.
So y'all had to, I'm going to say y'all had to work hard when you was a kid then.
Yes, well, in Alabama, I would always go back to Alabama during the summer because one of my older sisters and her husband owned a big farm in Alabama, in that Loxley area, in the Baldwin County area. And I would go over there, and I enjoyed picking the sugar cane and all that other stuff we would do on the farm. the other children, their children. So I came up, with my nieces and nephews like that. But that's where, and I can't ever remember not being in church. I remember, that's all I remember.
So you went Sunday night, Wednesdays, when it was the doors open.
With doors open, I was there, mother was there. And one of the places where we lived in Pensacola was way out where we walked. I intend to clock that and see how far it is. But we would walk that unless somebody came by in a vehicle or on a buggy or something. And
pick you up.
We would go. And we had a house right next to the church, across the street from the church, who were the Washingtons, who were very close to my mother. And they became part of my family almost, because that's where we would stay. Back then they had night service in churches, and right now we don't have that many churches really have night service. But we would stay there at Mother Washington's house, and we were just like another home for us because we were right there by the church.
Did y'all have plenty to eat?
Always. I never knew a time in my mama's house where we were hungry. She always made a way somehow.
Some kind of way?
Some kind of way, yes. So I had a good family. The brothers and my sisters, all of them were very close together, and they would keep in touch with my mother.
Where'd you go to high school?
Went to high school at Washington, Booker T. Washington High School in Pensacola. I was a trombone player in the band. I was in the chorus. Had a very good voice. Had a very high, accelerated tenor, and still had it until a couple of years ago. It's fading away now. But because of the popularity I had a lot of friends. I remember that in our senior year, I was voted in as principal for the day, and a whole lot of things that came my way because I guess because of my attitude, I didn't drink, I didn't smoke, I didn't do any of that stuff. I couldn't stay at Mama's house.
What did you do after high school?
Well, after high school, I worked. Let's see, what did I work? I'm trying to think of what I did after high school. After high school, I went to Washington Vocational School, and I started working at. I wanted to be in the business, so I took accounting there, and then after that school, I started taking classes at night. They have different type classes at night, vocational kind of school, that kind of thing. I'm trying to think of the first job I ever had. I don't remember. I don't remember what I did.
When did you meet your wife, Naomi? How did that come about?
I met Naomi when I was in the military.
You were in the military.
I came home on leave.
Well, let's hold this story. We're going to have to take a break. We'll hold this story. Brother Jerry Jerkins, Pastor Jerry Jerkins, in the house, back with a stretch run. Show number 1. We're going to do 2 right after this.
Okay.
It's the great savings event. Save like never before at Clarksville's favorite new car dealer. $8,440 off a new 2017 Altima. $6,431 off a new Rogue. You're going to love our prices.
For 100 years, Neil Tarpley Parchman Funeral Home has celebrated legacies with services as unique as each life.
Neil Tarpley Parchman, People who care, a name you can trust.
We've got less than 3 minutes left. Show number 1. I've asked Pastor Jerkins to join us again next week for show number 2. We're going to talk about when he met Naomi, and you were just telling me, though, after high school you got a couple of deferments while you were going to school.
Yes, sir.
And then the third time was a charm. The Army said,
Yeah.
you need to go, and you went.
I went. That's right, sir.
But you met Naomi in the service.
While I was in the service. That's
While
right.
you were in the service.
Yeah. And
No.
so she was back at in Pensacola at that time, and she's an Alabama girl too.
So y'all were from the same area.
No, we weren't from the same area. She was there visiting with her, living with her aunt. She was from another place in Alabama, but we met singing. Enterprise.
You were from Enterprise?
Enterprise. That's where she was. Enterprise.
Enterprise. Been through there several times.
And what we had at that time was that I came in on a furlough, just visiting, and one of the deacons said, "Jerry," they called me Jay Gaines then. That's what everybody called me, Jay Gaines.
Jay Gaines.
Jay Gaines. Jay was for Jerry, and
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I had been. They called me Jay, and that's about right. I'm Jay Gaines.
Gaines.
And I asked my mama one day, I said, "What's that stand for, honey?" She said, "That's Jerry." I said, "I like Jerry." So after then, I said, people called me. So Deacon Green, one old deacon, said, "Jay Gaines, I'm so glad to have you home." She said, "We're going on a trip." She was playing for 5 young men in a quartet, and she was a musician. And they were going to Selma, Alabama that weekend.
Right.
He said, "Come on, go with us and sing a couple of songs." I said, "I don't have nobody to play for me." He said, "We got somebody to play for you. She can play anything you want." Gave me her address. I went to her house, knocked on the door. She came, I still remember, had curlers in her hair and a half robe on. I said, "Whoa!"
We are out of time. We're going to start with whoa next week also. Pastor Jerry Jerkins has joined us today. Hope you've enjoyed it. Next week we're going to find out much more about the gentleman. I want to thank Jerry and certainly Naomi here today. We got Jennifer here today. Tune in next week. Until then, have a nice rest of the day, folks.